welcome to our all recovery meeting. My name is Karen, and I'm one of your recovery coaches. Ooh. Okay.
That sounds good, Karen. My name is Craig, and once again, I'm also one of your recovery coaches here at Capital Recovery Center. It's good to be with you today. All right?
All right, guys. It's good to be with you as well. My name's Michael, one of your Capital Recovery coaches. Thanks for tuning in today. While I turn down my phone, don't judge me. But anyway, thanks for tuning in for our all recovery meeting. As we set things in order, we'll be right with y'all. But welcome, everyone.
Just a couple of announcements.
What we got?
This is a reminder that on October 23rd, which is a Saturday, we're going to have our Out of the Darkness event, a walk to prevent suicide and to raise some funds. Registration is at 8:30 in the morning. It's going to be at the Cumberland County CC Tech, and the walk starts at 9:30 a.m. You do have to register, so if you would like any information, please let us know so we can send that to you.
Please do. And we got Recoveries on Wheels coming up this Monday.
Yes.
At Bridgeton Police Department.
Yes.
From 10 to 2. And also we'll be in Violent next week. But I'll give you the dates for are we gonna get a flyer for the Bridgeton one?
Yeah.
Right, Monday? Go ahead too. We'll have a flyer, but this Monday we'll be at the Bristol Police Department from 10 to 2. And Violent we will be at Wednesday. Yeah.
From 10 to 2 as well.
From 10 to 2 as well. Okay, with that being said, we got anyone else? What you got down there, buddy? You got an announcement?
No, not really.
Right.
Just we can get the show started.
Okay, so we were last few weeks we've been talking about last few Thursday. We've been talking about people what to do after relapse, basically. What to do after a relapse. We've been talking about what you can do after relapse. So we've been going through different topics, and today we're just going to finish up in that same vein, because a lot of times individuals will suffer a relapse or don't understand what to do after they suffer a relapse. But once you suffer a relapse, what to do after it. A lot of times people get stuck. They don't know what they should do, or they just are not sure if they can actually come back. However, if you're hearing us right now and you suffered the relapse, that means you have the opportunity to make a comeback. Because everybody who doesn't have the opportunity actually can't hear us right now. So if you hear us and you have suffered the relapse, so what to do after you suffered that relapse, that's what we're talking about today. And this worksheet came from Cornerstone of Recovery.com. You can go to the link to this worksheet is actually in the description tab, the description of this particular live. And if you would like to go there and get some information from them, please feel free. They have a lot of stuff on there that can help you in the process of recovery. All right, so let's roll. We got a lot of reading to do today. We're gonna we'll be able to knock it out. We'll finish up here. Reframing the relapse conversation. It says, so you relapse, what now? It's important to understand that for many people struggling with a substance use disorder, relapse is part of the process. It doesn't have to be, but even the basic text of Narcotics Anonymous, the blueprint upon which the 12 Steps Program Recovery Solution is built, devotes an entire chapter to recovery and relapse. I got to put over pause and park for a moment. It says up here, relapse is a part of the process. However, the next 5 words says it doesn't have to be. So that means you don't have to ever go back once you get away from the issue that you had with alcohol or any substance. It's a part of the process, but it doesn't have to be. So I understand that individuals sometimes say, relapse is a part of it and everything. But I do know individuals who have got used drugs or got addicted to drugs, and once they got clean from the drugs, never went back. Literally, I'm talking about after one time being in caught up in. That wasn't me though. But in chapter 7, the author writes, many people think that recovery is simple. It's simply a matter of not using drugs. That's so bad. They consider a relapse a sign of complete failure, and long periods of abstinence a sign of complete success. We in the recovery program of NA have found that this perception is too simplistic. After a member has had some involvement in the fellowship, a relapse may be the jarring experience that brings about more vigorous application of the program. Wow. Mm. So it basically says after they relapse, they learn more. They learn from it. Mm-hmm. That's basically saying that after they suffered the relapse, and they learned more about their particular problem that they was having. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. It's important to differentiate between acceptance of relapse as part of the process and approval, or it is something that's to be expected. No one gets clean and sober. No one who gets clean and sober has to relapse. See? I'm so glad they say that. Mm-hmm. No one has to relapse. Mm-hmm. But when it occurs, and it usually will, it determines it's detrimental to treat it as something that deserves scorn, diversion, or punishment. Mm-hmm. Wow. Wow. So one of the things I like to see, I like the words, is a person that gets clean and sober has to relapse when it occurs. No one who gets clean and sober has to relapse. I want anybody who's listening to understand that you don't, because sometimes when we say relapse is part of the process, an individual will live their lives clean, thinking about when they relapse going to happen. Yeah. Because they already associate it as being a part of the process. So they're thinking, well, when mine going to happen? Mm-hmm. So you can't think like that.
Or people, who's in that circle, as if they're waiting on something to happen, and you get approval. It says acceptance. It says it's important to differentiate between acceptance of relapse as part of the process and approval of it as something that's expected.
So you're sitting around like, I'm a relapse after I got clean. No, I'm not sitting around waiting so you can say, don't. That you're not going to get approval from me.
Absolutely.
Yeah. No. Go ahead, somebody can pick up.
All right. Once an individual becomes addicted, the brain rewires. Nikki Levac, a licensed person of substance abuse, the associated director of counseling at Brightview Health, told the nonprofit addiction recovery organization Shadowpool, relapse is not a choice. Let me say that again. Come on. Relapse is not a choice, but a potential part of the disorder. Most people wouldn't yell at a loved one who forgot their inhaler at home and then had an allergic reaction as a result of the medical condition. Wow. So basically what it says, substance abuse disorder is a disease, and it should be treated as a disease. And a lot of times we look down on people who relapse, but we should be more encouraging to tell them and let them know, hey, get back up, because just as people, as the article said, just as people with other medical illness or diseases, we don't beat them down to the ground. They left their inhaler and they had a medical allergic reaction. You talking about, man, I don't believe you left your inhaler. Right. You did it again. Come on, but let's be more encouraged. Hey, Kevin, how's everything, man? What's going on, Kevin? What Kevin talking about, man? Good to see you, brother. Good to see you, man. Grace and peace, brother. Blessed to my anointed, amazing brother, Michael Williams. Thanks, man. Hey, man. I like that. You know, it's good that you recognize all the good things that he's doing, not only in Capital Recovery, but also out there in the world.
All of them.
Yeah, keep it. That's part of recovery.
Yeah.
Not just one aspect, but a multitude of
Lifestyle.
It becomes a lifestyle. Let me read a little bit more because I feel like reading. In fact, as medicine and science come to a greater understanding of the biological changes that take place in the brains of those who suffer from substance use disorder, researchers are discovering that those changes may contribute to the potential for a relapse. In other words, let's look at it. While an individual's ability to make choices that contribute to his or her abstinence, what's going on in their head can be another matter entirely.
Wow.
It also says by one of the writers, it says in a 2011 paper examining research of biological factors that contribute to relapse risk, found that while clinical symptoms such as depressive symptoms, historical or trauma, and high stress and drug craving represent phenotypes important in identifying individuals entering treatment who may be most susceptible to relapse. Exciting new data have begun to identify biological correlates of future relapse.
Wow.
We just did a training on some of the things that looked at not only the substance use disorder, but they went into the root cause of some of the choices that we, me, myself, who as a recovering addict, a person who used substances, that there was an underlying issue prior to me using substance use or whatever drug or choice that I was using at the time. And it came to find out they did a scoring. And most of the time they figured out it was an ACEs score.
I remember.
They were looking at children. ACEs stand for adolescent something. But anyway, they did a study talked about how young people at an early age, they say those activities was the gateway.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times we say marijuana is the gateway drug.
Yeah.
But let's look beyond marijuana or alcohol.
It could be incident.
It could be incidents that may have occurred to trigger
Somebody to do it.
Absolutely.
All right, let's see what we got here, man. Let's look at I want to read that. I don't want to go there. Let's look at page 5.
You want to look at page 5? Let's go.
Look at page 5. Let's Karen see something she want to read.
No.
Let's go to page 5. Let's look at so you relapse. What now? Retool your approach. Okay, that's one of my favorite things. Remember, I always say after you relapse, whatever plan you had in place, something got to change. Why something got to change? If you relapse, it ain't work. Something has to change. So you relapse. What now? What now? All right. Let's see. Who else is up? Go. You want to go?
A huge factor in relapse avoidance comes through laying the groundwork early in the recovery process for a robust program that safeguards against returning to drug and alcohol use. As Gwenzel and McCharg point out, the prevention of relapses is perhaps the most fundamental task in addiction recovery. 5 broad strategies have been used in relapse prevention.
All right.
Number 1 is therapy. 2 is medications. 3 is monitoring. 4 is peer support. And 5, emerging interventions. Individuals often combine 2 or more of these approaches in their recovery plans. It should be noted, however, that the 5th strategy, emerging interventions, deals largely with hypothetical and experimental treatments that have yet to receive widespread clinical scrutiny or application.
Oh, this is some good stuff here.
Yeah, I like that.
I like that too.
Because when they talked about in someone's recovery plan, they use out of the 5, they use at least 2 or more of these approaches.
Yeah.
And One of them is therapy. Me, myself, I went to a peer support or peer recovery therapeutic program. And that's one of the approach that they use. I never had to go under the medication, but the monitoring aspect, I went in further as to continuum care. Once I came out of therapeutic community, I thought I was done. I thought I had everything. They gave me my certificate. Oh, you completed 3 phases, orientation, main treatment, and reentry. But a little to my surprise, when they gave me my release, they said, well, you got some more work to do, buddy. Well, how much program do I need?
I thought I was done.
I thought I was done, but you know, I'm glad that I did complete that process. I'm still ongoing.
And it says it right here. She read it. Individuals often combine 2 or more of these approaches. And when I look at it, I did the therapy part. I did the therapy part in my own personal life after 22 years of struggling with my substance disorder. I did the therapy part. Then I actually got on Suboxone because I couldn't stop doing the heroin. So I got on Suboxone to help me with the craving of the heroin. And then I used peer support. I made my recovery support network is a spiritual support network. I used their advice, their mentorship, and let them help me, guide me to the stages where it's done. When I got, they always told me, my peer support network always told me, we want to get you to the level. And this shocked me to when you don't need us no more. And I was like, man, I'm always need. They said, that's a crutch. We want to get you to the level where you're confident enough to be able to live life. And you can call us and use us, but when you have us as a crutch, then you'll never actually grow. So I use my peers, I use therapy, medication, and the peer support to get me to where I am today. Yeah. Let's see, where we at? Next paragraph.
And those plans, Lee points out, are often long-term. Recovering people who struggle with substance use disorder are encouraged to take their sobriety one day at a time, but that's predicated on the idea that part of each day is dedicating to putting in more leg work than simply staying abstinent.
Leg work, you gotta put that work in. That's what my mentors and them told me. My peer recovery support, they said, listen, you gotta put in some work. And then when you put in the work, you start to see the fruit. We want this microwave society that we have today. Everybody want the end result, but don't nobody want to put in the work, the effort. And that's just not going to happen. Mm-hmm. I go to the gym and work out, and you want the muscles. That's just not going. You'll sit there all day and think, well, eventually I'm going to get it. No, you won't. It's only going to happen when you put in the work, no matter what part of your life you apply that to.
All right, let me read that next paragraph. It's just sticking out to me if you don't mind.
All right, go ahead, man.
It says,
hog it up.
Part of the recovery process is starting to understand that it's really a way of life. Lee says, it's not like I was a person that's struggling with alcohol and my drinking was out of control. I still have things to do today to stay sober. And if I don't do them, I'm in danger. There's no guarantee that if I don't do these things, I'll stay sober. And I think that's part of what's happening with relapse. Ego, our ego, right?
Our ego
gets in the way. Intelligence gets in the way. A lot of things get in the way because people who struggle with substance disorder can really be stubborn.
Ego, our ego,
in
the way, our ego.
We let ourselves get in the way of our recovery.
So it says, let's say it says the next page. It says, so what do these 4 strategies look like? So let's read these 4 strategies right quick over here on page 6. It says the therapy. Remember, we just talked about the therapy, the medication, monitoring, and peer support. So let's read these. Therapy this might mean individual therapy, or for those who have relapsed but are in danger of continuing to use, it might mean returning to an addiction treatment program. We have that. If you want to go to outpatient, we have programs we can connect you to. Specifically, ones that offer a relapse prevention curriculum. That was the part I used to do at first. I'm doing relapse prevention. A number of therapeutic techniques, including CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, and acceptance and integration training, can challenge and change the relationship between the person struggling with an addiction and the substance that have caused them so many problems. So the therapy part, if you would like to get into some type of treatment that's not inpatient and you would like to go to outpatient, you always call us and get back into the treatment after a relapse.
CBT is very important. Cognitive behavioral therapy is so critical because a lot of times the choices that we make and the perceptions of our mind of a lot of distortion, manipulation, that's a lot of times is due to the substance use that we choose. It alters the way that we think in a proper manner. So those are some good information that we can acquire. I love it. I love utilizing it for myself, and I encourage anyone to get involved with that.
Change the thought. Change negative thought patterns. CBT deals with changing the thought pattern because a lot of times we have messed up thought patterns, and if we change our thought pattern, it can change the results of our lives sometimes. Medication, while there are 3 federal approved drugs and medical assisted treatment programs around the country, only naltrexone has addictive priorities in of itself. It shows some effectiveness when used with alcoholics. But for opiates, it has become game-changing medication that help tame craving. I just talked about that. Suboxone, because I had the craving for heroin and I could not get past. Every time I had the craving for heroin, I went to get it. I had the craving, I went to get it. So my wife, man, she's a nurse. She way back in the day, she was talking about, well, you can get Suboxone. I was like, I don't even know what that is, but it worked. I did that once I got past the craving, I stopped Suboxone, and the rest is history. Or it is being history still written. Has no addictive priorities. The craving, one of the hardest mental hurdles of substance use disorder is to overcome. The craving part is real because you ever crave something? Shoot, I just did that last night. Got up and grabbed my granddaughter and went to Walmart. She said, "Where we going?" I said,
"Relax." Oh, you went to Walmart?
Yeah, I need chocolate.
Chocolate.
I put a bag. And I asked my granddaughter, she said, "Papa, my mom ain't gonna let you get all that chocolate." I said, "You gonna tell?" She said, "No, because I wouldn't be able to get my bag." I told her, "Grab a bag. Get your bag. It's on me." She grabbed her bag. She said, "I ain't saying nothing."
There's 3 levels of substance use disorder.
And cravings.
I
was willing to leave my house to go get the chocolate.
Walmart can be your trick.
Yeah. They open at 11, so I'm trying to look for an all-night one. I gotta find me an all-night one.
Shopping disorders.
Yeah.
Plenty. Eating disorders. There's a host.
Let's go. Let's hit the other 2. You want to read the next 2 or somebody monitoring?
Yeah. Monitoring. For individuals in certain safety-sensitive jobs, the success rates of recovery are higher because monitoring is required in order for them to return to work. But what about those who aren't recovering under pressure from an employer? That's one reason enrolling in an intensive outpatient program can be beneficial. Early recovery can be perilous territory for those grappling with a drug or alcohol problem. Anyway, as officials with Shatterproof point out, while detoxification begins the process of detoxifying your system from the effects of drug and alcohol, it doesn't reverse the changes in the brain that have been caused by drugs or alcohol.
Hey, let me pull over pause apart for a moment, Ms. Karen. Most people, a lot of people, that's why a lot of individuals, after they start feeling a little better, after they go to detox, they leave and never complete the treatment process because they start to feel a little better. They don't realize, or individuals don't realize about the brain chemistry and everything changing or resorting back to its original functions, if you will, for lack of a better term. But when people go to detox and they never complete the stages, I always tell them, listen, why don't you just take your time, find another treatment after detox, because I know personally that the process of all that needs time. The body is one of the best things that we have ever received, because if we allow it to, it will actually fix itself. It will actually start to fix itself. So I like that they say that doesn't change. The brain, the changes in the brain that have been caused by the drugs doesn't just happen during the detoxification phase.
Mhm.
As a result, the recovering brain will always be more susceptible to a craving, activating a compulsion to use. That's why long-term treatment is important for long-term recovery. Enrolling in an IOP program where participants are often required to submit to random drug testing can provide the monitoring those individuals may need to hold themselves accountable in early recovery.
Well, I just talking about that. I said that it's random. Instead of saying, remember I said, you see what it says, random drugs. Instead of saying I'm gonna take it every Thursday, I can actually map out my week like that. How easy? I'll be like, okay, I know I gotta take it on a Thursday. I'm not gonna use anywhere down here that's close to Thursday. But after Thursday, but if you do random and say, yo, I need you to come in here Friday, unexpected, that's random. That's when you be like, oh, this guy's good. He caught me. Hey, listen, peer support, you got it, Craig?
Oh, so
The last one.
peer support. There's a reason that in recovery circles, it's often said that meeting makers make it, because anecdotal evidence has long demonstrated that those who take part in recovery programs, 12 steps or otherwise, with peers can be an effective deterrent to relapse. Science and medicines concur. After evaluating 35 studies involving the work of 145 scientists and the outcomes of 10,080 participants, Keith Humphrey, a PhD professor of psychology and behavioral science, and his fellow investigators determined that AA was nearly always found to be more effective than psychotherapy in achieving abstinence, according to a March report by the Stanford School of Medicine. These ain't something that we making up. This is stuff has been tested and proven by some of the professors and some of the people in higher education. And so for those who may be listening, please take these people's advice, because it has been shown and proven that it works.
Evidence.
It's evidence-based material.
Of course, if you relapse in spite of taking part in some of these measures, you may be beating yourself up with the big old shame belt. Feeling guilty about previous behavior as opposed to shame about being a bad person may be an important component of recovery. One reason that certain sobriety programs may be effective is because they encourage people to see their behaviors as something they should feel guilty, but not necessarily shameful about. So when you feel guilty, your conscious mind, something that you cannot escape from, your conscious mind make you feel guilty about something. That's actually how your conscious mind is supposed to work. Just don't feel shameful about it. Something that you feel guilty about and feeling shameful are two different things. Shameful will put you into the point of being depressed, which depression turns into like suicide. You'd be so depressed, and then it goes on, then you'd be like, I don't even want to live. So when you feel guilty, remember that's your conscious mind actually operating how it should. Something was done wrong. You knew this as a child. You see the fire, you know, if I put my hand in the fire, I'm gonna get burned. And nobody taught you that. How did you know? Your conscious mind taught you. Like, you touch that fire if you want.
Yeah. Just like Kevin wrote, go to work, let's get busy. Let's start, staying active, because a lot of times depression comes from boredom. And when boredom comes in, we began to have a lot of outside information. And so if we don't have the proper coping tools, we can allow that to be part of our setback. And we can succumb to a lot of issues that we don't want to. All right, man. This has been good, man. The last few weeks we've been talking about if you relapse, change your surroundings. Relapse and now what to do. So next week we'll come up with something else that we believe will be beneficial to you in your recovery process.
if you're in need of any of our services or anything that we can assist you with, we are always here to help you. Our number is on the screen. If you are in need of sober living houses, funding, help with electric bills and things like that, give us a call. All right.
All right.
So long, everybody.